Are monsters afraid of the dark? Because all of a sudden my toddler wants a nightlight to keep them away. In all reality, around 2.5 years old is when toddlers start to call monsters in their closet and under their bed and possibly like anywhere in their room that's going to eat them alive as soon as you leave the room at night. So we can talk about different ways that you can introduce a nightlight to your child and certain things that you should do and certain things that you should not do. So let's jump right into it. First things first, I am not against having a nightlight for your child, but what I do recommend is that you keep it as dim as possible and preferably a red nightlight. Now you don't want to give your child any other option. If they don't know that other color nightlights are even a thing or that they're available, then you don't even need to even have that conversation with them. It's just, here's your nightlight and it's red. If you have a hatch that you used when they were a baby, then of course you can start using that again if you stopped using it, but have it set on the red light setting. The reason why we want to do this is because red light does not stimulate the brain the way that other colors do, and your baby will still continue to sleep through the night. And when I say baby, I mean toddler. I mean, we all call our toddlers babies, don't we? You want to ask your child where they want to put their nightlight, because in certain places in their bedroom, it may cause a shadow that might make your child even more scared of the dark, as opposed to having the nightlight actually help and do its job to let your child see in their own bedroom. So what you could do here, and I recommend doing it this way, is to have your child lay in bed and then you put it in different outlets and then ask them which one they liked it in the best. And then that's where you leave it, done deal. Keep it there, done. If they continue asking to move it or change its location, say it stays here or I turn it off, because it's not going to become a game of musical chairs nightlight. Musical chairs nightlight edition. Where do you want your nightlight today, Billy Bob? No, we're not doing that. My next tip that I have for you is to teach your child how to turn it off. I remember when I was a kid, I would fall asleep with classical music on, and now that I know better, I do better for my children. And falling asleep with a little bit of classical music is okay. Having something on to distract your brain while you're falling asleep, if you're an anxious person and you just like constantly are thinking all the time, it's not a bad thing to have on a story or some music or lullabies or something for your child, if you know that they are like me and that they just continuously think and think and think and think and think. So having something like that is okay as they fall asleep, but you want it to turn off through the night. Now, this can or cannot apply with nightlights. So basically, with a nightlight, you want your child to know how to turn it off, because if they wake in the middle of the night, they need to be able to turn it off on their own if it's irritating them. So sometimes, I mean, they really might just wake up and just be like, oh, that light is annoying me, I just want it off. They might not even know how to convey that thought, but maybe they can just get up and turn it off themselves and get right back in bed. And if you teach them how to do that, they're golden. They will do this completely independently without needing help. Something you do not want to do when it comes to nightlights is one that projects lights onto the ceiling and spins and does all those fancy things, because then you're gonna have to do that all night long. Now, of course, if you set the precedent from day one that you can do this one time at bedtime and then it's done for the rest of the night and your child accepts it, then that's fine. But in the grand scheme of toddlers, I don't recommend this because of all the reasons that I just said. It's going to become a game. It's going to become something that they're going to demand in the middle of the night, and we just don't need to do that. The other thing with these projector lights is that the lights are generally white, which is stimulating, which is signaling to your child's brain that it is awake time and that it is not sleep time. So err on the side of don't get all the bells and whistles and just get a simple red nightlight. The next thing you don't want to do is give your child a false sense of security. Now, if you've seen my video on why I hate Monster Spray, this is along the same lines as that. I do not agree with telling your child, here's a nightlight to scare away the boogie monster, or here's a nightlight so that the monsters will stay away, or so that the monsters won't get you, or whatever. But do not give your child that sense of false security that the nightlight is going to save them. It's not, and monsters aren't real. So you can tell your child, I understand that you're feeling scared at bedtime, so we can use a nightlight to make you feel more comfortable, but I want you to know that there are no monsters and that's just in your imagination. So kind of like validating their scared feelings, but also letting them know that their feelings are like imaginary and they're in their head, and it's okay because we all go through that. Every single child, I'm pretty sure, has gone through some scary imagination thing at bedtime, and guess what? We've all survived and we've all gotten through it. The next thing that you should not do is leave it on 24/7. Now, I understand that sometimes we forget to turn it off, but this is also part of your child learning how to turn it off on their own, is that it can become their responsibility because you have enough responsibilities on your plate. And your child needs to learn to turn it off because of the fact that we want to protect our homes from fire safety. You want to unplug it or turn it off. I prefer unplugging it completely during the day so that you're not wasting electricity, and because you want to make sure it's away from fabric. Sometimes the outlet, and even like in my daughter's room, her outlet brushes right up against her window curtains. And so if we had a nightlight right there, the nightlight would be up against the window curtain, and that is a fire hazard. So for fire safety reasons, you also want to make sure that you don't have it on during the day. And just 24/7, it's just not good for anything. So just make sure that you're turning it off. Here's my biggest bonus tip when it comes to nightlights and toddlers being afraid of the dark. Do not introduce, "Are you afraid of the dark?" Isn't that a movie or a book? Are you afraid of the dark? 90s kid? 90s kid. Do not introduce it. If your child is not falling asleep and they keep saying, "Mommy, Daddy, come back, come back, come back," do not say, "Oh, honey, are you scared?" You're putting ideas in your kid's head, so don't do it. Do not. I know it is so hard, and this is like across the board with everything. Like, "Oh, honey, does that hurt?" Maybe your kid wasn't even thinking about something hurting, and maybe we put that idea in their head. "Oh, honey, are you scared?" "Oh, that's a good way to get you to stay in." "Yeah, I'm scared." "Yeah, sure, mama, I'm scared." Just don't put the idea in their head. I can't tell you how many clients I have had that say, "Yes, I'm using a nightlight because I think my kid is afraid of the dark." And then I say, "Well, your child's only 1.5. Has your child verbalized or vocalized that they're afraid of the dark?" "No." "Well, technically, kids don't really experience fears of the dark until they're closer to 2.5 years old, when their imagination begins to develop. And of course, it depends on who they're around, what they're around, and what they're seeing on TV. But a lot of that stuff does influence if they're afraid of something or if they think that there's monsters or boogeyman or anything. But just be cautious and just be careful with your language and the verbiage that you use with your child. If they don't say that they are scared of the dark, then you don't have to just introduce a nightlight just because you think maybe they might be scared, because chances are they're not. And at the end of the day, we all sleep better in pitch black. So if you do not need to introduce a nightlight because your child says that they're scared, then I don't think that you should. So keep all of that in mind. And if you need to use some sleep training strategies with your toddler, I have a toddler sleep guide linked in the description box down below and pinned in the comment section. Grab the sleep guide and you can choose from which sleep training method is best for your child, but I'm really narrowing it down to 2 toddler sleep training methods that have your child involved in the bedtime process and is getting their mind off of whatever they think that they're scared of that's just generating in their imagination. So grab the toddler sleep guide in the description box down below and keep blooming. Mwah.